On the previous lesson, we have been working with OKHTTP, which is a HTTP connection library. But now we are going to move to a level above of this, and we are going to start managing this connection. So Volley is a HTTP management library, which helps us to manage our connection. This means have different connections happening at the same time, adding different priority to our connection, cancel our connection, and much more. So Volley is above the HTTP connection class, so it's not a HTTP library itself. It's different from OKHTTP. In fact, we can use any HTTP connection that we want with Volley, even OKHTTP. We can combine the two. So what Volley helps us to achieve is the management of the connection. So for example, we can control the priority of different connections. So this means that if in a screen you have to make different HTTP connections, for instance, downloading the content and downloading image, everything from different place, you might want to give more priority to the content rather than the image. That can be the last thing to be downloaded. It also helps us with the retry policy. So for example, if we try to make a connection and the connection fails, we maybe want to retry sometimes more before telling to the user that there is a problem. So if we take a look at the website, you just have to Google Volley, and it's the website from developerandroid.com. We can see here a list of the features for Volley. And if you have the time, take a look at the video, this 40-minute video, because it's really interesting. So now we are going to start adding Volley. So if you scroll down, you can see a button Get Started. The official way to add Volley to our project will be clone the Volley project from Google and export this as a library and create a jar file. But this sounds very tedious. There is an easier way to do this. If you Google Volley mirror, there is a guy which is cloning the project and doing this for ourselves. So if you scroll down, we have the line here that we need for Android Studio. So if you copy this line and you come back to our project, we can paste the line here and we will have Volley in our project. Or doing it in the slow way, if you just go to the project dependencies, in the project structure, and you click on Add New Library Dependency, we can search for Volley here, and we can find this same library from the same person. So doing this, or copy and paste the line of the build.gradle file, is the same. Note that there are two different build.gradle, so make sure that you select the right one. Okay, so now we have Volley in our project. So let's click on Get Started. So we have internet permission in our application. So the next thing that we have to do is start creating a string request. We have here an example of a string request, so we are going to start implementing this. Just copy the first part, how to create the request queue, which is going to be a queue containing all the requests. So come here and remove everything from OKHTTP client. Just leave the method on create, setting the view, and start pasting here the request queue from Volley. I'm going to import all the reference to Volley. If you come to import, please click on this small plus, open the import, and remove all the import from OKHTTP, because I don't want to have any problem when importing requests from Volley. Now, if we take a look how to create a string request, basically a string request needs get or post, depending on the connection, needs a URL, a response listener in case that we get a good response, or an error listener in case we get an error. So let's start creating a string request. First, I want to have the Reddit URL for my request. Okay, a string request from Bolly equals new string request. Okay, so now request, make sure it's request from Bolly dot method dot get. Now the URL, which is the URL, that we can just put the URL here directly. Now we need to create the response listener. Okay, and we have to continue with the second parameter here at the end with the error listener. Okay, semicolon at the end. So that's all. Basically, we have created the Bolly request, and what we have to do, the latest thing, is add the request to the request queue. This is just to execute the request. Okay, so now we have here two listeners. This listener is when an error happens, when there is an error, and this is when we have a correct response. So what we are going to do is show on the screen the correct response. Okay, so now we are ready to try this. Okay, so the application is going to open and we are supposed to see a toast with the response. Okay, so what we have done, we have created a request queue from Bolly, we have created a request and we have added that request to the queue, so that starts executing the request as soon as we add it. Okay, the idea of Bolly is to share this request in the whole application, so you have different requests from different sites, always using the same queue, because if we are going to create a new queue every time, that makes no sense. So in order to share the same queue, we need to have a way to share this between all the parts of the connection, all of activities, all of fragments. So for that we are going to introduce the singleton pattern, which is how to create a class that can be accessed by any other place. So in the next lesson we are going to implement this.